Alex Toohey will be the next Australian to make the NBA. This is Floor and Ceiling. Let's break him down. Sydney Kings wing Alex Toohey is in the second year of his NBL Next Stars experience, and he's a solid complementary piece for teams to target in the early second round. Toohey is 6'8", with a wingspan around 6'10", 6'11". Sydney uses him at the 3 and the 4, although I think he'll be contained to the former in the NBA. As far as the league is concerned, Toohey will probably play a similar role to the one that he's already fulfilled in the NBL. On offense, he's largely an off-ball wing, asked to space the floor and make decisions off the catch with some flashes in transition. Then, on defense, Toohey is even more interesting. His growth on this end this season has been real, and I think that the Aussie prospect can add value with his size, motor, potential switchability, and off-ball awareness and production. Let's start on offense though with what I consider Toohey's swing skill, and that is his three-pointer. As of this upload, Toohey is shooting right under 31% from 3 this season. Last year, he only converted 25% of his triples. That's not overly encouraging, especially when we also factor in that Toohey has shot under 70% from the free throw line in both of his pro seasons. Broadly speaking, I don't think that there's anything overly wrong with Toohey's shot, but my biggest thing is the lack of versatility. Evidently, the percentages are improvable, but so is the complexity of his looks. Right now, I feel like Toohey misses wide open corner threes far too often, so I can't have that much trust in him shooting off movement or out of screens when he's not even converting the easiest shots that he gets just yet. Toohey's shown some flashes shooting off movement, but nothing worth holding on to yet, in my opinion. Even though he has good positional size, the 20-year-old Australian doesn't find it that easy to shoot against tight contests or hard closeouts. Toohey is obviously better when he's afforded a lot of time and space, but if it gets to that point where defenses are totally fine with letting him shoot, then that becomes a big issue. Toohey wouldn't have enough in his offensive bag to overcome being ignored from the perimeter. However, that's what many NBA teams might do to him right now, so his conversion and versatility from downtown really need to improve. If and when Toohey's 3 is falling, then I think he's pretty reliable at making a decision off the catch. This part of Toohey's game should encourage NBA teams since he can fit into a low-volume role next to a star guard, wing, or big. Going to the basket, Toohey does a good job at targeting his defender's top foot. He's mostly a straight-line driver, but he has a bit of shake and some physicality. Toohey can attack the baskets out of handoffs and dribble handoffs as well, although he'd be even more dangerous in those predicaments if he was a better shooter already. Then, the Aussie wing's handle isn't the best, as we'll get into, but I think it's functional enough for a couple of dribbles, and Toohey is solid at elongating his steps or carving out angles. Nowadays, and I've said this time and time again, a lot of NBA players have roles based around being able to catch and shoot, catch and drive, or catch and pass. Toohey flashes all 3 of these skills, but he's not great at any one of them, and there's still room for improvement across the board. Looking at his passing here, these clips are not going to blow you away, but I think that he's a pretty reliable, quote-unquote, extra passer. Toohey keeps the ball moving, and he creates better looks for his teammates. I like Toohey's awareness in general, plus he's smart and quick, so again, the Sydney prospect doesn't need that many touches to be effective. At the same time though, that should also say something about his limitations up to a point. Sticking to something adjacent to how Toohey attacks closeouts, let's get into his overall finishing at the basket. First, like I said earlier, he's 6'8" with a plus 2 or 3 wingspan, so that's good positional size. Toohey isn't super explosive, but he's big, he understands his body, and he's not afraid to play with contact. If the 20-year-old has a runway, he can throw down a dunk, although that doesn't happen too often against a set defense. Admittedly, I'm skeptical about Toohey's foot speed at the NBA level, but in the NBL, I think he's been able to exploit slower, less skilled mismatches when he's played at the 4. Toohey prefers to go right on his drives, but he can finish with his left. This season, the Australian wing is averaging about 11 points on 53% true shooting. There have also been some moments in transition, and I'm curious as to whether Toohey will be able to unlock more of this grab-and-go skill set. After all, every NBA team will love a 6'8" guy who can rebound and then push the ball. Toohey can do this here and there in the NBL, but I don't really think this is his role in the NBA, where he'll be better filling the lanes and playing fast while being set up by others. With that said, let's get into Toohey's limitations as a finisher. The biggest ones are that he lacks bounce and pop, especially when playing off of 2 feet. This is an issue in traffic and against length. Also related to this is that when Toohey slows down, I'm just not sure that he can rev back up at the NBA standard. Toohey is coordinated and moves around just fine, but his first step and his first jump are both real question marks. I will add though, the Kings wing largely gets to the basket, and NBA spacing could offset some of his limitations, so there might be some reasons to be relatively optimistic, as opposed to if Toohey was just getting walled off every single time. For me, it comes down to the Sydney prospect's athleticism and handle. I feel like Toohey goes for finesse a little too often with finger rolls or touch shots. Sometimes this is because he can't manufacture that clean of a look at the rim. However, he's a relatively big and long 6'8". Toohey needs to finish strong way more often, or just go ahead and punch it on someone's head. If he can improve his finishing package and the quality of his shots by adding more strength and improving his handle, I'll feel much better, but of course that's easier said than done. Adding to this is that Toohey doesn't offer any shot creation outside of when he attacks off the catch. He's not a pull-up shooter, and he isn't really going to create constant advantages with the ball in his hands, despite making smart decisions most of the time. I mentioned just now that Toohey at least gets to the rim, but I'll also mention here that this happens in a connective manner. If he has to beat a defender one-on-one, that's more of a struggle with his handle and athleticism, but also that's just not his game. Whichever NBA team drafts Toohey should be aware that they're getting a relatively well-rounded player who can plug in gaps in a variety of ways, but he's not a do-it-all prospect with super enticing flashes across all areas. Toohey is reliable and solid, and he has the makings to be a role player for a long time, but he is not a dominant type of prospect, and for me, the early second round makes perfect sense. Alex Toohey's defensive improvement and performances this season have been noteworthy. Looking at the numbers, his steal and block rates have gone from about 1 and 2 last season to about 3 and 4 respectively. Toohey also has 43 stocks in 19 league games compared to last season's 29 in 29, and then the tape backs how much better Toohey has gotten. In the NBA, he'll probably be a 3, but Sydney feels good putting him at the 4 and then letting him switch all over the floor on defense. Over the course of one possession, Toohey might start on the ball handler and then switch multiple times before ending up on the inside against the forward. In this clip here, 7-foot Sam Froling posts him up, but Toohey gets the rejection. On the ball, he's good at using his length to pick away loose handles or poke away bad passes. Toohey's motor and desire to make a defensive play definitely stand out. This clip here is a good example as he executes the switch on the dribble handoff, keeps the ball handler in front, and then uses his length to finally force the turnover at the basket. This is another good one, with Toohey starting on a 4/5 man in Lockie Ulbrich. He switches on the screen as we saw earlier, and again stumps the drive. This even applies off the ball as well, where Toohey's been disruptive, attentive, and now he's regularly creating events. The Aussie prospect is locked in, disciplined, and productive. Toohey's rotations are crisp, and he leverages his size and length very well off the ball too. Again, it helps that he can be used on guards, wings, and forwards, at least in the NBL, and Toohey has been empowered to almost play positionless basketball on this end of the floor. Last season, I felt like the Sydney wing could be a second too late, too often, but his anticipation and reading of the game on defense has really improved. Ultimately though, the limitations are similar to the ones on offense, even though I think Toohey has shown more versatility on this end. The foot speed and lack of vertical pop can both be hindrances, especially when it comes to the NBA. I'm unsure that Toohey will be able to keep ball handlers in front like he's done in Australia, because NBA guards are just a whole nother beast. They're quicker, bigger, and more skilled, so a lot of Toohey's advantages kind of get cancelled out. I think he'll be capable on wings as well as off the ball, but the thing is, many NBA wings are the best in the world, and I'm not sure Toohey is or will be that level of a defender. On top of that, he'll also have to hold up offensively, and that needs to happen relatively quickly in order for him to get playing time early on in his NBA career. As of right now, I feel good about selecting Alex Toohey in the 30 to 45 range, with an outcome predicated on him becoming a 3-and-D wing/forward with some ball handling upside to go along. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a comment telling me what you think of Alex Toohey, make sure to subscribe to the Floor and Ceiling Substack, subscribe to the channel as well, of course, and Happy New Year. Take care, and I'll catch you guys next time.